Hello, my name is James Trost, and this is A2 Insight. Today's guest is Dr. Kimberly Hurns,
Yes.
the Vice President for Instruction at Washtenaw Community College. We've asked Dr. Hurns to come here discuss our series, their continuing series on entrepreneurialism in Washtenaw County, and we're going to learn more about where WCC's role is and what they're hoping to achieve in our community. But to start out, would you please give us some more information about where you grew up, your early academic influences, other career, and how did you possibly end up as the Vice President of Instruction at Washtenaw Community College? So I'll let you start off with your interesting background.
Well, my background. So I am a Detroit Public School graduate. I graduated from Cody High School, and I attended Eastern Michigan University. So I'm proud to be in this area still serving students who attend Eastern Michigan University, which a lot of our Washtenaw students do. I worked in business and industry. At a very young age, I loved to sew. And early on, lemonade stands, things of that nature, always intrigued me. And I think in reflection were a big way that I learned a lot about business. I had a small business as a 12-year-old, and I would sew Barbie doll clothes and make pillows and things for people. And I actually did that a lot even when I was in college. I did a lot of sewing. And so I always kind of had somewhat of an entrepreneurial spark. I majored in marketing. I worked in industry for about a decade or so, and went back to school, got my master's degree at Loyola University in Chicago, and kind of wanted to transition to do something that was a little bit more purposeful and kind of giving back. And I started teaching part-time at Macomb Community College. When a position came available at Washtenaw Community College, a full-time position, I applied, and I did that for 15 years. I taught business management, marketing, and one of the things that I learned in that position was we had a lot of students who had great business ideas, and we didn't really have a place for them to go. We had classes for them to learn the different skills, for them to learn about marketing and accounting, but they really needed to be coached or handheld a little bit. And I was inspired by two Chelsea High School students who wanted to start a Dippin' Dots. And so
A Dippin' Dots?
Dippin' Dots.
What is
It's
that?
the little frozen ice cream. You get it at Cedar Point.
Okay.
And I remember the Cedar Point part because the two students went to Cedar Point one weekend. They came back and they was like, Miss Hurns, how do you start a business? And it was interesting. Myself and another faculty member kind of went back and forth. She would tell them some things, and I would tell them some things. I would tell them to go over to the library, pick up a couple books. And one piece of advice I remember I gave them was put together a presentation and present your idea to your parents as if they were strangers. And the students did that. And the parents, agreed, both parents agreed to invest in the business. And they were the youngest Dippin' Dots franchise that ever opened in the country. They opened up a small stand at a mall in Okemos, Michigan. They were, very successful. They both ended up selling the business and doing other entrepreneurial things. But it always stayed with me that those students and other students, we had a veteran who wanted to start a food truck business, and he was taking a marketing class, and we just really didn't have a place for them to go to get help after they took the classes or gained the skills that they desired. And then we had a whole bunch of occupational programs, photography, graphic design, auto body, where those instructors struggled with the path for these students is going to be entrepreneurship. How do we support that as a college? And so when President Belanca got to the college, we undertook a strategic planning process. And that was one of the things that came up was we need to be doing more in the way of entrepreneurship. And that may or may not be a class. We have classes, we have programs, but how do we support all of those students who have skills that can be marketable? I mean, we teach them skills at the community college to be marketable. And so we started doing some research about starting an incubator, what other services were in the community. As a college, we have an SBDC on campus, so we do have a government-supported entity for businesses, but they target and support businesses who are a little higher up than maybe some of our students might be ready for. And so we decided that we want to have a resource hub that brought together programming and resources and a sense of belonging for students who had ideas but weren't really sure if they can do something with those ideas. And that's how the Entrepreneurship Center was born. It's something I'm very passionate about because I think it teaches, if students never become a business owner, there are some very valuable skills that you gain from learning about entrepreneurship. And as a college, we wanted to serve the sweet spot that wasn't being served in Washtenaw County. We wanted it to be open, we wanted it to be free, and be consistent with our mission as a community college. And so that's kind of the long story of my background and how I got at Washtenaw and how we started the Entrepreneurship Center.
Well, that's very interesting because I think what most people don't necessarily understand is that 2/3 of all people who work for small businesses.
They don't.
They don't work for major corporations, and so one of the complaints against higher education has been that, well, they can take various courses in business and marketing, but there really isn't. That's all theoretical. Running a business and starting a business are two entirely different concepts.
Absolutely.
So that does lead us to your involvement, I guess, with the Center for Entrepreneurship. Now, what is it? Students will come to you. Let's maybe make it more practical. I am a student that's studying in photography at Washtenaw Community College, and I'm going to graduate with an associate's degree in this area. And I've decided I really want to, I want to start my own photography studio. And I show up at this location on campus. What are you going to do, or what kind of services are going to help this person get started?
There's going to be a variety of services. So one of the things that we pride ourselves on is that the Entrepreneurship Center goes out into the larger community, but even on our campus community. So the center director, Kristen Gapsky, works with all of the different programs to figure out, you don't want to add another business course to a photography program, but we have a boot camp. We have a boot camp format where we bring entrepreneurs in. It's a whole day workshop where the students get to learn everything from writing contracts, putting together a proposal, how do you do your pricing, and it's specific to photography. So we have some small as well as large programs. So we have some small workshops on how to set up an LLC or a DBA, so students can embark in those workshops, or there are some very specific workshops and day-long series that we have that are aligned to our HVAC program, to our construction program. So the thing that we think is so valuable is that the work that we do, there's some broad general skills that students gain, free workshops, just simple coaching and resources that they get in the center, books that they can check out, training that they can do, and all those things are either free or low cost. But then there's some contextualized training that they can get either with their instructor or through separate programming that we do. The center director and her staff, they go out to classrooms, they do workshops and sessions in the classrooms with students, as well as we have a series of assignments that we train the faculty on doing so that they're embedding entrepreneurial skills in all of their courses. So, our larger vision is that all of our students leave with some experience and confidence in entrepreneurship. If they have to go put a shingle on their door to start a auto body or auto service business, that they actually have the confidence and the skills to do that, as well as go apply for a job. And so for us, entrepreneurship, it is a career pathway, and we want to make sure that that career pathway is aligned to the skills that students gain when they come to the college.
Well, I think that's certainly an exciting development that we've seen. Of course, one of the major problems that we always have as it relates to entrepreneurialism is that anyone starting a business has to deal with the whole concept of risk, financial risk, investment, and knowing that unfortunately a lot of businesses fail. Is it possible to teach a student the benefits of taking risk, or is it more of an inherent thing in your experience, seeing people coming through this program? What skills do you see in the students you've worked with that makes them especially apt at being successful and being an entrepreneur?
And so I do think that you know, there are a lot of things in society that, you know, you kind of grow out of your ability to take risk. You know, we kind of, sometimes we beat that out or teach that out of each other. And so one of the things, you know, I've repeated a lot the word confidence. So one of the things that we work a lot on is making sure that the center is a hub, that everybody is included. It's a very inclusive and diverse environment, so that the number one thing we think we do is build that confidence for our students. So we have an annual pitch competition, and the students actually, instead of just signing up for the pitch competition and doing it, they go through a series of workshops. We have coaches who come and help them and talk them through that process, because it is for the students, for our students, doing that pitch competition is a big risk for them. But we also know that it's a process of learning how to take risk that is going to be more beneficial for them in the long term. We also talk a lot about confidence as well as failure. You know, it's okay to fail, and failing is a lesson. That's how we learn. And so I think using that vernacular has been how we model and teach the students that, you know, the world's a risky place, but there's a lot of reward to risk, and you can't win if you don't take risks. So it's more of those kind of soft skills that we talk about a lot. Us adding that as a soft skill and something that needs to be taught to our students is, you know, risk is not a bad thing. It should be calculated. It should be prepared for. It should be thoughtful, but it's how we learn. And if we fail, you know, when we do our pitch competition, the thing that's so amazing is that those students have worked for months and months to do their pitch. And when you look out in the room and the students who don't win, they did win. They won because they learned how to prepare for a process and take a risk, you know. And that's something that we attempt to model through the Entrepreneurship Center in a lot of different ways. Even when we talk to the faculty about, you know, if they come up with the idea and they vet it and put together the financials, then they can see that that may or may not be a risk worth taking. But, you know, really teaching them how to prepare for it, and that it's a process of, it's part of the process of learning.
I think that's interesting. I didn't know about this. Could you try to explain a little bit further the whole concept of the pitch competition? It sounds to me, I mean, that to me is, I don't know, they have these things on television, the Shark Tank. But how many students participate in the pitch process, and what exactly, you know, how you said people are judging and saying could you just go a little further into how that process works?
Absolutely. So the pitch competition, we really start to ramp it up in the fall, and we talk about it a lot, you know, kind of as an end game for a lot of the students who come to the center. And the thing that's really nice is that this is going on our third year of doing the pitch competition, and some students will sit back and wait and see, well, let me look 1 year, and then maybe next year I'll do it. And so they start in January, they sign up for the pitch competition, and then they make a commitment to different workshops and training and time that they're going to spend with a coach. And what the coach does is help them better communicate their value proposition, better define the financials, and be prepared to ask questions. And so we have judges who come in from the community. We normally have a faculty or maybe an administrator, but we always have a community member or two in a wide range of different businesses. We've had social entrepreneurs who want to start nonprofits or do things that are going to, you know, change and improve the community. We've had people with patent products before. So every year we have anywhere between 8 and 15 people who compete. And the beauty of it is, I think a couple years ago, we had a 16-year-old and an 84-year-old in the pitch competition, because we get a lot of community people who participate. And then the people who are usually doing the pitch competition spend a lot of time in the Entrepreneurship Center working on their pitch, working on their ideas, doing research. And then when we have the competition, I always like to say it's friendly Shark Tank. So, you know, again, the students are all rooting each other on and helping each other through that process. And they kind of become a cohort, a team, to kind of motivate one another. And then our pitch competition, unlike Shark Tank, is very fun. We have a DJ, and family members come, past contestants come. And so it's a really nice event, and it's like a celebration of the work they've done, regardless to how many people who gets the big checks. And one of the things that we do is that the students win anywhere between $500 and some have gone up to $1,750. And it's because we do an audience award where the audience does a pick as well as the judges do a pick. So some people may get 2 checks or 2 amounts. And it really is to help the small businesses that we serve, where $1,000 to get somebody to do a website is going to make a big difference. You know, these are not pitch competitions where they win $50,000 or $100,000. It's the small piece that is just one step to those students' dreams, or community members. They're community members as well.
Well, and that does lead to because as I said, I just assumed that the Center for Entrepreneurship would be designed specifically for Washtenaw Community College students, but what you're saying that the services available are for the larger community?
It is for the larger community. Washtenaw Community College is a community college, and we serve and support the community. Most community members have experienced or had experiences at Washtenaw Community College, or have students there, or alumni, and so the center is welcome to everyone.
Well, there we go for our budding entrepreneurs out there in the Washtenaw County area, that the center is ready for you regardless of whether or not you're enrolled as a student.
Absolutely.
I think that's an important distinction.
It's very, very important.
This is kind of the 84-year-old participant. What was the actual area? Do you remember what she was trying to pitch, or what was?
It was a he.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what he was attempting to pitch, but the thing that was interesting was he had a patent on the bumpers, previously on the bumpers that are on the bowling alley. So this was a person who had experienced prototyping and developing a product before. So, I mean, the wide diversity of the ideas we get and the people who pitch, I mean, it's always amazing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Now, going back to just the idea of a student who's in Washtenaw County, hopefully wanting to live in Washtenaw County. And I think one of the keys to success, although even ironically at one level you might be encouraging competition in different industries depending on what person wants to start, how do you develop, or how does your center develop relationships with industries that students want to go into in terms of reaching out to area businesses and see the advantage of, you know, having the center to create potentially competition in their industries, or how do you present it as a way that's making it more good for them by being involved? Or just
well, one thing that I learned early on, and I really, you know, I wasn't shocked because I know how great this community is, but when we started the center and I started to go meet with entrepreneurs and ask them questions, what should we be teaching? How should we be doing these things? I mean, they were just so gracious and so helpful. And as you said, small business is such an economic engine that we don't think about enough. And so one of the very first things we did is we patronize a lot of small businesses. You know, so there's a Big B Coffee on Washtenaw that we bought coffee from them for years to put in an entrepreneurship center so we can have free coffee Wednesdays. And so we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and what we do is those entrepreneurs, we bring them on as mentors. You know, would you like to do a workshop? Would you like to share your insight? So we make it very collaborative so it's not competitive. And I think most entrepreneurs know what that's like. They've been through that. I mean, only an entrepreneur who's had to figure out how to make payroll can really empathize with somebody who's struggling with making payroll. And so we bring them in as part of the process. So it doesn't feel competitive that we're trying to produce more entrepreneurs to compete with them. But we make it very collaborative, you know, is that it's a community resource. And, you know, most entrepreneurs, they want to give back because they know they've had that experience. And I think that approach has worked with us. And we support the entrepreneurs. We support them in tons of ways. And for a lot of them, if they need employees, we put those things up in the center because it's awesome to work at a small business to learn what those challenges are going to be like when you start your own business.
Well, and of course, if anyone who lives in the area knows that one of the things that you're known for is this magnificent sign that's on buses and around, says Washtenaw Community College, and then the word employed.
Absolutely.
Which, of course, obviously is the ultimate goal of anyone going to, into any form of educational training. So you've had 3 years at the Center for Entrepreneurship, and you have a director of that program. What do you hope, as you envision this, to see, let's say in the next 5 years, in terms of where you've seen it develop and where you hope to see it become in 5 years from now, in terms of just an overall vision or the mission of this, and what you would like to see its specific results, let's say in 5 years?
You know, I think when we think about, you know, kind of reading, writing, and arithmetic, you know, we think about the basic things that we want you know, young people to have when they go out in the world. And the world just changes so much so fast now. For me, my vision is that the center grows internally and engages all of our variety of programs on campus, our HVAC program, our construction, that all of those programs, all of those faculty continue to do the great work that they do in their subject matters, but we continue to integrate ideas and thoughts and concepts and learning around the value of entrepreneurship skills in all of our programs. You know, I would love to see us say that every student who comes to Washtenaw Community College also gets a complementary education in entrepreneurship, that they all kind of get some spark that is valuable to them from a skill set standpoint in any career or any path that they have. And if any of those students are ever challenged with needing to change careers or wanting to do something else, that they know that entrepreneurship is a path that they can take. You know, when we talk about employed might also be employed by yourself, of yourself,
Sure.
In your own business. And so for me, that is the vision, you know, that we continue to integrate and immerse those skills in everything we do across the college campus, because I think it's going to be a value to our community, and definitely a value to the world as we look at how jobs are changing, that all people need those skills.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know, you mentioned one word that I don't know how this may fit in that, but you said the spark that might come. Well, there are other business incubators in the area. Particularly, we've got the nonprofit enterprise at work, as well as Spark downtown. Do you have, as well as I said, Ned Stabler was here from Techtown. Is there any kind of, or do you envision, or is there any kind of collaboration between not only your center but also some of these other programs in the area, and what exactly would that consist of?
Absolutely. Where I am actually on the board of nonprofit enterprises at work, and so I know the great work that they do. And actually, we do a ton of work. Kristen Gapsky, our director, works a lot with them, because a lot of the businesses that our students want to start are nonprofits. So we actually attempt to work with every footprint of entrepreneurship, you know, in Washtenaw County, and that extends even to Detroit, Techtown, and all those wonderful resources that are blossoming there. And for us, we want to stay kind of in our area. I mean, we know our kind of niche, and I think we were very specific about that niche and being those small idea, you know, I just got an idea, I'm not sure. And so we work with a lot of them. We refer a lot of students out, and both Spark and New and Techtown and other organizations, they've referred a lot of students to us. Same thing with SBDC, that's on our campus. So I think we've become a part of the wonderful ecosystem from Detroit to Ann Arbor that has been created in entrepreneurship. And because we have a niche, we're not competitive. We're not attempting to incubate, but we also have a humongous database of referrals where we can send students when they're ready to move to those next points. Because there's a level of service that we provide, and as their businesses grow, they're going to go to these other places, and they're going to move around to whatever those resources are. I mean, I am amazed and impressed by the amount of resources that we've grown in southeastern Michigan around entrepreneurship, and I think that it's extremely valuable for young people to see that as an option. And so we work with a ton of people. We work with returning citizens. We work with a lot of international organizations. So Kristen does a ton of work with the University of Michigan, and a lot of the work that they've done in patents and entrepreneurship and arts. We worked with the Arts Center of Ann Arbor. So because we're focused on kind of the different industries and contextualizing what we teach in entrepreneurship, there's so much collaboration that needs to take place for us to bring in those resources. Because a lot of the programming we do is us bringing resources on campus. Build out of Detroit, they do a training every single year. Spark does a training every single year for us on campus. And so for us, it's mostly us being that hub. That resource hub, and making sure that we're inclusive and staying in that niche that we think is underserved. You know, if a student just has an idea and not really good credit and don't even know where to go, we want to be that resource to help coach them to where they need to be, and we can be that launching pad for them as far as their entrepreneurial journey.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other aspect of this is the Center for Entrepreneurship at Washtenaw Community College also is a new organization. Mm-hmm. And as any new organization, whether it be a business or a nonprofit, suffers from either growth or struggles. So I would be more interested in hearing, too, some of the challenges. I mean, we have specific goals, but in any new organization, there are certain things that you're having to focus on to grow. What would you say are the major challenges facing the sustainability of the Center for Entrepreneurship, again, probably let's say for the last 5, or what you see as things you want to improve upon.
Right, and so one of the things that you're absolutely right is that the center has been a startup, which has been fun and challenging. I think part of it is really engaging, more programs across campus, because I think a lot of times Kristen and I will see, this area really is a big entrepreneurship area, like, heating and ventilation. It's obvious there are not enough of those businesses out there. How do we better engage the faculty to engage students in that area? Because I think for a lot of our students, they don't think about what they know as a business yet. A great example is health sciences. A lot of nurses, they want to be nurses, but they don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs. So I think in penetrating the faculty and the students to see entrepreneurship and understand it, and us helping them do that, to see that as an option. I think that is definitely one challenge. And I think the other challenge is that there's more stuff than we can do than we have the staff to do, and I think we've had to pull back and manage the growth of the center and growth of the and the demands of all the things that we could do, and really staying focused on the mission and in the niche that we serve, and allowing our partners and other organizations to serve the areas that they do best. So I think for us, it'll be a matter of how do we manage the growth, and how do we stay focused on our mission, and allowing all those other entrepreneurship organizations to do the pieces that they do very well. And really just getting students to see that entrepreneurship is a path. It makes people uncomfortable, but I think one of the great things is the millennials, I think they're really flocking to entrepreneurship as a career path. And I think for some of us who are not millennials, how do we support that in a way that is tangible, even if they don't want to go sit at a desk and be an engineer, or do a defined job that we know and understand from the past. I think those things it's important education, even from a community development standpoint for all of us, even from a parenting standpoint, for us to better understand entrepreneurship is tangible. It's very tangible.
Well, that is very interesting. Now, the one aspect of this, I would assume, also is funding. Is this an internal program offered? Do you have outside funding? How do you fund the center at this point? Is it just through school?
It's been a combination. So the school, it is a support service of the school. So the school funds the Entrepreneurship Center and all of the staff and everything that's there. But there have been some areas where we want to grow, and we might want to do some specific programming. So we've done some grants. And we've received some grants. And one of the things that's nice about being a part of Washtenaw Community College is we have our own foundation, and they do programming grants. So we've gotten some programming grants through our own foundation to support our pitch competition. And one of the things that we've done is we've used those small grants kind of as a proof of concept, and then we'll put those things, okay, this works really well, this is the impact this program has, and then we put it in our operating budget for the college from a support service standpoint. But one of the things that we do want to engage more in is we want to think about having some funds, larger funds than the $1,750 or $1,000 for students. How, if a student really did have an idea that required some real dollars, how do we fundraise around being able to provide those kind of grants and that kind of funding for students to do real startup work? And so that is a growth area that we want to look at as far as the future funding and growth of the center.
All right, well, we're down to our last question for you, Kimberly Hurns, and I do want to ask, you have been working in a variety of roles, teaching business courses, administrative work for 15 years now at Washtenaw Community College.
I'm going on my 17th year at college now, yes.
So, where do you see your own entrepreneurial path leading you, let's say, in the next 5 years? What do you have on your schedule that you've thought through, or have you?
I have not gotten that far. I've been in this current role for almost 2 years now, and because I have been very fortunate at the college in my own career trajectory, my goal is to stay in this job a little bit longer before I think about anything else, and it's a good path to have, because Washtenaw is a great place to work. It's a wonderful college. We do really good work. I'm biased by that, and I think in complementing you know, a wonderfully educated, resourceful community, the work that's done at Eastern Michigan and the work that's done at University of Michigan. So I want to stay seated for a while. I have small children, and they're finishing college, and those are, I mean, not college, they're finishing high school, and that's my #1 goal right now, is to focus on that.
Kimberly Hurns is the Vice President of Instruction.
Yes.
At Washtenaw Community College. I want to thank you very much for being here today as a guest on A2 Insight. And for A2 Insight, until next time, I'm James Trost.